Quad Cities National Weather Service predicts a low chance of flooding this spring. The report shared on Thursday shows communities along the Mississippi River are not likely to see the 20-foot crest like what we saw last year. Less snow and rain up north of our hometowns is helping keep that chance low. But while flood risks may be low for this year, the science tells us it won't always be the norm thanks to climate change. In fact, the risk grows as extreme weather becomes worse each year. To shed light on how all of this will specifically impact the Quad Cities, the National Wildlife Federation and the nonprofit Prairie Rivers Network has put together a Quad Cities climate assessment. The full report is expected to drop within the next few weeks, but here today to give a preview is Prairie Rivers Network's Nina Struess. Thanks for joining us today, Nina.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so I know you gave a presentation on this yesterday, but talk about how the community specifically got involved with this climate assessment.
Yeah, so we definitely wanted to make it community driven, and so we went to some important stakeholders, community leaders, did some interviews, held some input sessions, and we're able to identify some risks that were pertinent to our community. So of course flooding came up, river flooding, flash flooding, but of course other extreme weather events, things like the derecho, extreme heat, and wildfires came up as well as concerns for Quad Cityans.
Yeah, I can imagine. And once the final assessment is released, you've said it's not, I want to get this word right, a prescriptive plan. So talk about what it is.
For sure. So it is a community-driven product where we are hoping to implement more nature-based and natural infrastructure opportunities here within the Quad Cities to combat those climate risks. And so that can look different depending on the location, depending on the community, depending on the scale. And so we didn't want to say, okay, for Rock Island, you need to do X, Y, and Z. It really depends on what communities and areas we're looking at.
These are such big words we can throw around sometimes. We talk about nature-based infrastructure solutions, but really, I mean, talk about what are some of those that people could implement in their own homes, their own backyard?
Sure, so super simple. Well, you can visit some, you know, by
Yes.
going to Nahant Marsh, but also you can do so by putting in a rain barrel to help capture some of those extreme rain, precipitation. You could put in a rain garden to help really soak in that extra water within the ground. You know, so there's some different opportunities to really be able to look at in terms of doing something even in your own home.
And does the assessment also address, you know, larger infrastructure needs that, you know, cities or counties might have to look into?
Absolutely. So we provide a range of different opportunities for nature-based solutions that can be implemented based on the scale that's available. So whether it is, you know, a smaller scale or larger scale.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When we talk about climate change, you know, we talk about the risks a lot. Flooding, of course, top of mind here in the metro area and all along the QCA. But when we think of climate change 10, 20, I mean, even 60 to 100 years from now, what are the risks that we might be facing?
Yeah, so it's, and I want to make sure I mention this too, it's not a total doom and gloom report, right? Because that's really where those nature-based solutions can come in and kind of help with this. But there are, you know, some scary looking maps in there as we look at flooding and what that could look like in particular areas. Because again, flooding isn't just all about, you know, the river rising, it's also how do we handle those extreme precipitation events? Where does the water go? When it runs off, does it affect further areas downstream? You know, can our systems handle all of that water? And so it can, depending on, you know, whether it's early, mid, or end of the century, it can look a little scary, but we do also provide science and data that shows what can happen if we start implementing some of those nature-based solutions and the impact that can happen as well. So we have some before and afters that are pretty amazing to see how nature, which is inclined to really work with and adapt to those changes, can really help mitigate those climate risks.
And I'm assuming you're going to be talking about some of those solutions in some of your upcoming events. Talk about those.
Yeah, so we're going to have some different ideas, of course, that are part of the reports, but we do have a couple of opportunities to talk about this report a little bit more, or this assessment a little bit more in depth. So I'll be speaking for Illinois Soil Health Week, where we're talking about how climate can be affecting our soil and water quality. And then also I'm doing a conversation, quarterly conversations with partners with Scott County Watershed. We'll be talking about the climate assessment as well from a watershed perspective, so what it means as we kind of zoom out a little bit further. And then we do have a winter webinar series coming up with BICAN, so the Bi-State Conservation Action Network, where we're going to look at climate conversations. So what does the climate look like from a national, a state, and a local level, and what we can kind of expect and how we can help to play a part to change some of those risks.
And to make all of this seem a little bit more manageable, a little less scary. Like you said, a little less doom and gloom.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, Nina, I can't thank you enough for coming by today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's good to be back.
I know, you might recognize, Nina used to do our Meal Prep Monday segments with us, so
yeah,
happy
on
to
the
see
other
you again.
side, so thanks.
And for you guys at home, Prairie Rivers has several events coming up, like she just mentioned. The first is on March 4th for Illinois Soil Health Week. Then on March 7th is the first climate conversation, all about adapting to the new normal. And that one will take place virtually. And then Conservation Quarterly's QC Climate Assessment event is happening on Tuesday, March 19th. Of course, we have more information on all of those over on our website, WQAD.com.